Next on Currents News, the bishops of the United States are in Baltimore for their big meeting. They are taking on some of the most crucial issues facing the church today. We have team coverage as Catholic leaders, including Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, are hoping to enact new standards to battle the abuse crisis. Big news from Paris on the rebuilding of Notre Dame Cathedral. A new mass schedule is being announced for the fire-ravaged landmark. That's Alice Johnson seeing her family for the first time after being pardoned by President Trump. She's with us tonight to talk about her journey from incarceration to freedom. The news starts right now. The U.S. bishops in Baltimore singing an opening hymn on the first day of their highly anticipated general meeting. And we have on-the-scene team coverage with Currents News' Tim Harfman and national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, standing by in Baltimore. Good evening, I'm Emily Druby. The Catholic leaders are focused on some big issues, including the protection of young people. We start our coverage with Tim Harfman. Tim?
Emily, following that hymn and prayers, the bishops went straight to work, focusing on bishop accountability and protecting minors and young people from clerical abuse. One way for them to move forward, strengthening the involvement of lay people.
Good morning, brothers.
The U.S. bishops officially opening their big summit Tuesday, planning to enact new guidelines to combat abuse. The main focus is on the protection of minors and young people and bishop accountability. USCCB President Cardinal Daniel DiNardo, in his first major appearance since suffering a stroke in March, led the way.
We gather this week to further the sacred work of rooting the evil of sexual abuse from our church.
A task Pope Francis is asking the church to tackle on a global scale. Monsignor Walter Araby, representing the Pope's ambassador to the U.S., spoke to the delegates about the importance of getting lay people involved.
The church needs to listen to the voices and insights of the lay faithful, to make visible the multifaceted richness of the church and to engage in a shared process with diversified responsibilities.
Brooklyn Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, echoing those remarks, says the church needs to be unified.
We need to look at the collaboration within the church. That's key. At one point he made the whole is stronger than the parts. When we work together, we're much better off.
Part of Tuesday's opening agenda, presentations from two major committees made up of both lay people and clerics from across the country, the National Advisory Council and the National Review Board. Dr. Francesco Cesario, chairman of the National Review Board, saying many eyes are on the highly anticipated conference.
We find ourselves at a turning point, a critical moment in our history, which will determine in many ways the future vibrancy of the church and whether or not trust in your leadership can be restored.
They gave good advice, some difficult advice that we need to consider seriously to follow, because this is lay people looking at us, and this is the church. It's a microcosm, and they usually are on target.
And Cardinal Daniel DiNardo said that the battle to eradicate sexual abuse will not end until there is no instance of wrongdoing within the church. In Baltimore, Maryland, Tim Harfman, Currents News. Emily, back to you.
Tim, what seems to be the reaction among the bishops so far?
Well, I had the chance to ask Bishop DiMarzio that, and he said so far there seems to be a positive attitude. While there's short time during the three-day summit, he said the bishops believe they can make a lot of progress. Emily.
Thank you, Tim. New York Cardinal Dolan is with the bishops in Baltimore, and this morning he tweeted a video on what they're planning to do.
It's just great. We got business to talk about. We pray together, we chat, we catch up, we vote on things, pastoral life, you name it, we do it, and we enjoy it.
The Cardinal asked everyone to pray for him and his brother bishops. A new poll is out tonight as the bishops gather in Baltimore. Pew Research is reporting on how Catholics are reacting to the clerical abuse crisis. According to Pew, 27% of U.S. Catholics are scaling back their Mass attendance, while 26% are reducing financial contributions to their parishes. Also, 69% of Catholics are telling the pollsters the abuse scandals are an ongoing problem. 24% are saying it's a thing of the past. Now we go back to Baltimore, where national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White, is standing by. He's with us to explore some of the tough questions the bishops are facing. Christopher, what are some of the concerns over the lack of lay people involvement in bishop accountability?
Well, Emily, what we heard throughout the day today was just this general fear that the proposals on the table may just look like bishops policing other bishops, and that don't provide adequate teeth for lay people to really speak into this. And one of the things that they're particularly concerned about is the idea that lay people are only really optional in these proposals rather than mandated.
Are there any proposals on how to resolve this?
Well, one of the main points that was made over and over today is that we have to make clear that, as bishops, that when we talk about the proper boards that are going to be set up on a regional or provincial level, is that the use of lay people is not considered to be optional. It's that it's going to be the default position. Now, it may be one lay person that is responsible for an investigation into a bishop, or it could be an entire committee. But those are the things that have to be worked out, not the question of whether lay people are involved at all, because that is off the table, and according to the bishops here, they are going to be involved every step of the way.
Chris, besides the abuse crisis, what else was discussed today?
Well, there was also discussion about migration. I mean, up until last year when the abuse crisis sort of came back with a vengeance, that was really the main focus of the U.S. bishops. And one of the things that Bishop Jose Vasquez of Austin, who chairs the Bishops' Committee on Migration, said is, look, you know, we have an increased number of people arriving at the border, and we can't take our eyes off them. And we've got to find ways as Catholics, both as priests and lay people, to tend to them so that they're not forgotten in all that is being discussed right now.
Christopher, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Emily.
In connection with the Baltimore meetings, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops is launching a new website. It's at usccbprevention.org. The site is highlighting the importance of prevention, protection, and accountability in cases of clerical abuse. Readers can also view the 2002 Charter for the Protection of Children and Young Adults. The agenda for Day 2 of the Bishops in Baltimore is packed with major votes. Conference President Cardinal Daniel DiNardo will speak about a new confidential reporting system for bishops' accountability. Newark's Cardinal Joseph Tobin is taking on vocations, and new Washington, D.C. Archbishop Wilton Gregory will discuss ordinations. All of it will be covered live on Net TV beginning tomorrow morning at 11. Tim Harfman and Christopher White are going to be with the bishops in Baltimore throughout their spring summit, which runs through Thursday, and they'll be reporting the latest developments each night on Currents News. The U.S. bishops are welcoming the Vatican's new document on gender theory in education. Currents News first reported yesterday that the Holy See is calling on Catholic schools to teach that God created people as males and females, an issue the bishops are calling difficult and complex. In a new statement, they say the clarity of church teaching, rooted in the equal dignity of men and women as created by God, provides the light of truth and compassion that is most needed on our world today. Philadelphia Archbishop Charles Chaput is forcefully calling out Democratic Party leaders for their support of abortion. In his latest newspaper column, the Archbishop is slamming Joe Biden, a Catholic, for his about-face over taxpayer funds being used for the deadly procedure. The Archbishop is also writing, "The unborn child means exactly zero in the calculus of power for Democratic Party leaders, and the right to an abortion, once described as a tragic necessity, is now a perverse kind of sacrament most holy." Missouri's last abortion clinic can stay open for now. Amid a battle between the clinic and state health officials over licensing, a judge granted an injunction in favor of the center, temporarily preventing the state from becoming the first in the country with no access to legal abortion. The court order says it will issue a decision on Planned Parenthood's application for renewal of its license no later than next week. A huge announcement out of Paris for the world tonight. The Notre Dame Cathedral will open its doors for the first time this Sunday since a fire ravaged the landmark almost 2 months ago. The Mass will be celebrated by the Archbishop of Paris, Michael of Petit. It will take place in a small side chapel with 20 people taking part. The Mass will be broadcasted live so that Christians from all over the world can participate. This Sunday is the anniversary of the consecration of the cathedral's altar. The mysterious disappearance of a Connecticut mom moved into a courtroom today, 18 days after the woman went missing. Kristen Holmes reports the very latest on criminal charges in the case and the police hunt for the mother.
As law enforcement officials continue to search for 50-year-old Jennifer Dulos, today the mother of five's estranged husband and his girlfriend pleading not guilty to charges related to her disappearance.
We don't know where Jennifer is. We don't think the state knows where Jennifer is.
Fotis Dulos and Michelle Troconis are charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence and hindering prosecution.
We think that this bond and these arrests were an attempt to pit the two of them, Ms. Troconis and Mr. Dulos, against one another.
Jennifer Dulos was reported missing by friends 18 days ago. Authorities discovered a, quote, large quantity of physical evidence in the garage and inside of Jennifer Dulos' home, including stains that tested positive for human blood and areas of suspected blood spatter.
The defendant's DNA was found in a mixture on the faucet inside of Jennifer's kitchen.
And police have a surveillance video showing a man matching Fotis' appearance dumping multiple garbage bags in trash receptacles across the Hartford area. Police recovered clothing and household goods with Jennifer Dulos' blood on it. The estranged couple have been engaged in a 2-year custody battle, and according to court documents, Jennifer said she was afraid of Fotis before her disappearance. Kristen Holmes, Currents News.
The remains of another victim killed during the 9/11 terror attacks have been identified. The New York City Medical Examiner's Office says the man is the 1,643rd person to be identified nearly 18 years after jihadists crashed airplanes into the Trade Center's Twin Towers. The victim's name is being withheld. 40% of the nearly 3,000 people reported missing remain unidentified. The latest news on the helicopter crash in Midtown Manhattan yesterday. We now know that the pilot, Timothy McCormick, was an experienced flyer who first lifted off in rain and fog before trying to return to the East River heliport he had just left. Investigators are trying to figure out why McCormick went astray in the 11 minutes after he took off. McCormick was a firefighter with the East Clinton Fire Department upstate. The chief, Don Estes, remembered him after the tragedy.
Chief McCormick was extremely respected by not only the members of the department, but throughout the county of Dutchess and all fire services therein. Tim will be exceptionally missed by his department members, not only for his leadership, but his wonderful sense of humor. Rest in peace, brother.
McCormick's last communication before he crashed was that he didn't know where he was. There's a lot more news headed your way. What the U.S. Supreme Court is saying about printing "In God We Trust" on our money. I'll introduce you to a Catholic math whiz and report on his latest accomplishments. Alice Johnson has President Trump to thank for her freedom. She'll be here to tell us about her new life. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back.
The school helped me strive.
That's Catholic student Julius Dorsey, and he's a math whiz. Julius is graduating from a Brooklyn Catholic Academy in just a few days, and he has a bright future ahead of him. The teen is receiving scholarships from some of the top high schools in the area, including Regis and Xavier. He credits his success to a Catholic education and a diocese-wide math competition.
So you would put 3.
Julius likes math.
I love math. Math is one of my favorite subjects.
And he's really good at it.
Because you have to multiply these two.
The 8th grade student at St. Francis Xavier Queen of All Saints Catholic Academy has been competing in the Brooklyn and Queens Math Bowl for 6 years, often helping his class get to the top 5 with his high scores.
The school helped me strive because I know that you have to step up and be a leader because the school is counting on you. And if they're counting on you, you have to fulfill expectations.
Math Bowl is a competition between Catholic schools in the Brooklyn Diocese. It uses online platform Mathletics to get kids excited about the subject using technology. For a week in the spring, students earn points when they successfully complete math problems. The class with the most points wins. This year, 19,000 students from 900 classes at 62 local Catholic schools competed. Julius started competing in the 3rd grade. During the competition, he dedicates at least 5 hours a night to math problems. His success, tenacity, and math ability continuously impresses teachers and parents.
My wife and I are extremely proud of this young man.
During the Math Bowl, I was sitting and kind of challenging them, and it was almost before I could even read the whole thing, he already had the answer. And it was just mind-blowing, basically. How did you know this that quick?
But Julius credits his parents, his school, and Mathletics for his success.
I would like to thank St. Francis Xavier Queen of All Saints for giving me every chance, all the opportunities to be here, and for helping me develop into the young man I am today.
The program is open to kids in kindergarten through the 8th grade, meaning this was Julius's last time competing. He's graduating this week and will be attending Regis High School in the fall. Priests and principals are once again hitting the baseball diamond. This year's Callers versus Scholars game is happening June 17th at MCU Park in Coney Island. The game starts at 5:45, though officials are telling fans to arrive early. For tickets, which cost $10, go to fivo.me/Catholic School Night. Or you can purchase a commemorative bobblehead of last year's MVP, Sister Shirley Tremont, with your ticket for $12. That link is fivo.me/Shirley Bobblehead. An atheist attempt to scrap In God We Trust has been struck down by the Supreme Court. The High Court declined to take up the case, which would have removed the phrase from the national motto, as well as all coins and currency. Atheist Michael Newdow argued the phrase violates the First Amendment because it was the same as a government endorsement of religion. Alice Marie Johnson running with joy to hug her daughter in Aliceville, Alabama. Alice, a free mother after being released from federal prison after spending 21 years behind bars as a first-time drug offender. The people she has to thank for her freedom, President Trump and Kim Kardashian.
The only person in the world that could have done this for her. Why wouldn't I go talk to that person?
When I saw Alice's beautiful family greet her at the prison gates, hugging and kissing and crying and laughing, I knew I did something right.
Now, after a presidential pardon, Alice is living her new life to the fullest and sharing her story with the world in a new book called After Life. She joins us now. Alice, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I want to talk about that happy reunion with your daughter. What were you thinking in that moment?
I was thinking, is this real? It was at that moment when I actually was able to hug my family that it became real, that I am actually free.
Alice, 21 years in prison, that's a very long time. Did faith keep you going during that time?
Absolutely. Without my faith, I could not have made it. And also the faith of my family keeping me encouraged too.
How did your faith keep you going?
I became so involved in the things in the prison of encouraging others. I started reading my Bible, first of all. I could understand it. Growing up, I only had a King James version. But as the scripture came to life to me, I knew that God was the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And I knew that his promises, those promises in his word became true for me. And so I lived my life to not only to keep myself encouraged, but as I started encouraging other women, it's something about really giving back and encouraging someone else. I encouraged myself in the process.
Alice, it must have been very humbling to have two big names fighting for you. And Kim was the one to give you the news of your release. How did it feel to finally be free? And what did you say to Kim and President Trump when you finally met them?
Oh, I called Kim my war angel. She was on a mission. She cared about my life, and I'll never forget that. When I saw President Trump, I told him, thank you for believing in me, because he still didn't have to sign my clemency petition. He had opposition to it from his own staff members, and they were public about that, so I'm not revealing any secrets. I'm just very thankful that they were divinely brought together, those two.
Describe what life is like for you now.
Life for me, being back with my family. The only way that I knew my grandchildren was through prison communication. To be able to be with my grandchildren, to be able to be a part of family functions again. I'm not missing weddings. I'm not missing celebrations. I'm not missing those things that I used to call, and they'd let me hear the laughter on the phone. What they didn't see was tears so many times would be rolling down my face. I was happy for them, but I was so hurt that I was missing so much. In my book, Afterlife, is truly a memoir. It's not just about prison. It's not about trial. It's a message of hope and second chances and redemption. And that is who I am. I'm a walking, living, breathing testament of grace.
Alice, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me today.
There's a lot more news headed your way. We'll tell you why the work of a Catholic nun is on display in a gallery. And we'll also tell you about a big dream coming true in Brooklyn for Sister Lucy Mendez. And the tablet has a brand new page called Our Diocesan Family, where you can share your pictures of recent baptisms, Holy Communions, confirmations, marriage, all of the joyous sacraments. For more details and to submit your photos, go to thetablet.org/ourdiocesanfamily. Your picture may be published in an upcoming issue of the newspaper. We'll be right back. Pop art fans can catch a glimpse of some well-known contemporary pieces of art from Sister Corita Kent. Sister Corita was born Frances Elizabeth Kent. When she was 18, she joined California's Order of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. While there, she learned the art of printmaking. Her Catholic faith became her pop art inspiration until her death. This month, Sister Corita's artwork is in its first New York show in a decade.
One of the things that's really interesting about Corita's work is that she was really, even though she's making most of this work in Los Angeles, a lot of it does kind of have this relationship to the street. So it was really kind of, about a lot of it was made through looking at the environment that she was living in.
Sister Corita Kent's work from the 1960s is on display at the Andrew Krebs Gallery in Manhattan until June 22nd. Another nun from the Diocese of Brooklyn followed her dreams of a higher education. Sister Lucy Mendez graduated from St. Francis College with a degree in psychology and a minor in religious studies earlier this month. To read about her journey to the graduation stage and what she hopes to accomplish now, you can pick up this week's tablet or head to thetablet.org. That is Currents News. I'm Emily Druby. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.